What's up everyone? In this issue of Motive Garage, we install a 6-speed sequential gearbox and we finally go into the 9s on a stock bottom end. Now in our last issue you would have seen that a PPG 6-speed sequential gearbox arrived for the car. Now a lot of people on social media have said things like, how is it a budget supercar if you've got that sequential gearbox? Now that's kind of true, but in another way it's actually not true. Now the way we see it is, we would never go back to a 5-speed after having the Jet-Trade 6-speed, so the only way up was to go to a 6-speed sequential. Now the other factor is, a lot of people spend $30, $40, $50, $60, $70,000 plus on their engine combination, but then put a standard gearbox back in the car or some cheap 5-speed gear set. Now the way I see it is, I'd rather take some of that budget from the big engine and put it towards the transmission instead, because it makes for a better car. Why is that exactly? Well, the ratios totally transform the way the car drives by being a 6-speed, and obviously having a nice strong gearbox means you have a more reliable car, so it lasts, you can beat on it, and it's way more fun to drive. Plus, sequentials, they're just cool. Personally, I'd rather have a 450 kilowatt stock bottom end GT-R that has a 6-speed sequential in it than have a 650 or 700 kilowatt car that has a stock 5-speed or a 5-speed gear set. So it shows that overall, the 6-speed sequential might be an expensive outlay in one hit, but when balanced correctly into the total build, can actually be a much more suitable thing to buy than spending huge money on your engine. But if you can afford it, you do both. Now another thing people don't realise, that a sequential often comes with the things that you would option into a gear set, such as a billet sandwich plate and the uprated main shaft. Now we've talked about why we went for a sequential, but now let's take a look at why we chose the PPG.
We have a few video features coming out soon about how gearboxes work and about the PPG, but for now, we'll keep it short and sweet. Firstly, PPG designed their sequential to be at home on the street and at the track, which is perfect for us. The helical gears are strong, but are quieter than straight cut gears. The sequential mechanism, shifter and rotary position sensor for closed loop flat shift is an awesome piece of kit and great new technology, giving quick and perfect shifts. We know it's easy, but awesome to drive on the street, having driven some other cars fitted with the PPG sequential. It all goes inside a standard GT-R gearbox casing, making it a bolt-in affair. And best of all, they're an Australian company with a proven track record. Getting the gearbox built is as simple as sending the guys at PPG your 5-speed GT-R gearbox and they'll assemble it for you. They also inspected our transfer case to make sure it was set correctly. Check out our other videos to find out more, but for now, we wanted it in the car pronto. Because we were changing from an R34 gearbox back to an R32 gearbox, we also had to change the clutch. Perfect timing after what happened in our last episode. The PPG uses a larger input shaft with different spline, so we had direct clutch services send us a new twin plate clutch and flywheel to suit. The install process is pretty much the same as installing a factory gearbox.
Now we actually had the gearbox in the night before GT-R Festival, however the car developed a weird misfire, so we decided to pull the pin on racing. Now the car sat for a while we built our new studio and new headquarters, but we then realised we needed to get it running again. We put a fresh batch of fuel in and it turns out that solved the problem. But we ran the car on the dyno at Croydon anyway, just to give the car a health check.
Kaboom!
it won't die. Lifting the head, pushing a bit of water, head's a little bit noisy, one bearing is suspect, but it still came back, made the power, and it's ready to go to the track. Isn't that right? Yep. That's right, let's go.
How you going?
Come on, why won't this car die?
Because you're not driving it hard enough, you pussy.
How much past what you consider safe for a stock bottom end has this car gone, and are you surprised it's still alive?
I probably wouldn't push it to a normal customer at this level because it can go bang at any time. So it's your car, it's your call. You want to blow it, it's on you, it's not on me.
It is fun though, right?
Oh, it's fun to see how much we can push it, of course.
Hopefully, today is the day. What day is it? 9-second day, hopefully. So we're on the way to Grudge Kings. We decided we're going to run the car there instead of a Wednesday night. One, we're busy, and two, they're going to have a fully prepped track and a lot of rubber going down it during the day. So we're hoping that the good track at Grudge Kings can give us what we need to make sure we definitely get into the nines. That is, of course, if the car survives it. So we're actually driving there right now on the drag radials rather than changing the track. Why? Well, to prove that we can drive there, run a 9 and drive home without touching anything. And secondly, it puts a heat cycle through them because they haven't been driven on in a while, so they probably need it. What's the strategy for today? Just gonna drive it. So a tip for young players, on a normal Wednesday night you get a temporary IHRA licence as part of your entry. If you come to an actual IHRA event like Grudge Kings, you have to have an IHRA licence. So I've had to go through all that this morning, get a licence for that, which I haven't needed until today, but that's done, time to race. Alright, I'm going to admit I'm pretty nervous for lots of reasons. I haven't driven it in ages. Haven't really launched it on this box and had a proper attempt, so don't know. Haven't even raced it on this box. What other excuses have I got? It's a stock bottom end, blah, 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 whatever. But you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm just a bit nervous. We'll see what happens. Accumulator's on, booster's on high.
Okay, your bad man used the only 141, but he did the 998.
Yeah, buddy, we're in there. We're in there. It wasn't a perfect run either. We're in there.
Yeah, I know.
See ya. Woo! We're in the nines, baby. We're in the nines. Shane just rang me. He wanted to be the one to tell me, but man, all I cared is I got in the nines. My goal is always not do 50 test passes or whatever. Is just you go, and if you PB, killer. If you don't, try again. And it's a PB first time again, so I'm pretty stoked, man. Stock bottom end, it's still alive. Please ignore that run, I want to go again. Thank you very much. Killer. All right, let's look at the stats. 158.60 foot time is not the best I've done, and to be honest, I could tell by the launch it wasn't perfect, but it was kind of good enough to get the job done. And then we went 998 at 141. So we've finally gone the sub 10 and the 140 plus mile an hour. So we're, yeah, there's more in it, but I'm pumped. If they let me go again, they let me go again. Let's see what happens. No matter what that was, I think I'm going to leave it. I said that I wanted to run a 9 and drive home. First pass it did it, so I stuck to my guns of a PB on the first pass. I was tempted to, you know, say keep going, but I've done 2 runs. I'm starting to push my luck now, so I think I'll leave it there and take it home. I want to be actually able to drive it, because I've got to drive it home to prove the 9 and take my daughter to daycare next week. What do I do then? Mile. So it looks like the second run was actually slower. But yeah, I want to see why. I guess that's the big one. Was it power up top feeling a bit down, or was it the 60? Thank you. Yeah, 60 was terrible. So that was all in the 60. Well, there you have it. Our goal for today was to drive to the track, do a 9-second pass, and drive home. We could have packed it up after the first pass, but we thought we'd give it another shot. I thought about it a little bit too much and didn't get a great start, but it did go faster, 142.6. And talking about our 998, honestly, it wasn't perfect. It was a 158.60, which isn't our best. And I thought the rev limit was at 8.5, but that's 8.5 on the factory tacho. It was more like 8.2 on the Howtech. So on 4th to 5th, I was watching the tacho and I didn't shift early enough, and there's a little bit of rev limiter there. Would that have made much of a difference? Probably a mile an hour. It probably changed, and you know, it might have been a 996, whatever. But overall, I was pretty happy with the 998. Reason being is my own personal goal is that every time I go to the track, I run a PB on my first pass. And every time I go there, I always think, you know, should I do a practice launch? Should I try this, try that? Should I launch, analyze the data and see what to change? And by the time I get to the line, I usually go, stuff it and just run. Didn't know it was going to happen. I'd never launched with this gearbox in the car to know what the gear ratios were going to be like, and obviously no practice on the day because the track can be different every day. So just took a bit of an educated guess on how to launch it. It did pretty good, and I thought, stuff it, stay in it, and it was a 998. Can it go quicker? Yeah, it can. Looking at the 60 foot time, if we put the bigger tyres we have at home, you know, and get that 60 to a 148, we're talking 978, you know. So the reason we ran on the small Hoosiers, even though we've got bigger Mickey Thompsons, is because we ran the 10.1 on these tyres, the 10.2, the 10.3, etc. So we wanted to keep the same tyre for now. So it was just a back-to-back comparison from H pattern to sequential. And you can see that even with a slower 60, it was a faster and quicker car. So job done, it proves the point. We can come back potentially in a couple of weeks, maybe get away with one more run. And if we do that on the 17s and we can 60 better and the car holds together, we could see a quicker time. Will we do it? Well, it depends on what happens. But the most important thing is this. I'm driving home. So now's a good time to reflect on the journey to this 9-second pass. And to be honest, we've done it the hard way for a couple of reasons. Firstly, we could have just left standard size brakes on it. We could have put a 16-inch tyre with big rubber on it. We could have kept the 5-speed in for better ratios. And we could have just gone straight to that power level and gone straight to a 9. And then we wouldn't have put as much wear and tear on the car. Because let's face it, it's had over 460 kilowatts from since the single turbo conversion, since, you know, early 2015. So it's been 2.5 years that it's had over 600 horsepower at the tyres, and that's a lot of wear and tear. It's done plenty of driving. It's done a lot of runs, a lot of dyno pulls, a lot of street driving, daycare runs, etc. So that's been pretty hard on the car in terms of wearing it out. So the fact that it's made it this far after that much wear and tear, to me, is even more impressive than just getting a car that's stock, making it do a 9, you know, almost straight away, and then going, that's okay, done. You know, we've proven that it can last on big power. Once we got past 500, it has really sort of had problems, but, you know, on 450, 460, I don't think there's any reason why a stock bottom end can't live for quite a long time. And to me, I think that's the limit. 450, 460 kilowatts or 600 horsepower at the tyres, at all four wheels that is about as far as you want to go, I think, with just head gasket and studs. Obviously, you know, I think an accumulator is a good idea, but, you know, and the other thing that's made it quite difficult is we haven't actually set the car up for drag racing. We've had 6-speed jet drag in it, which is a lot of gear changes. You know, now we've got a 6-speed sequential. It's got big brakes on the front, so we're limited on our tyre size. And the other thing is the suspension has always been set up for handling rather than drag racing. So we've got a GT-R that handles, stops, drives beautifully as a street car, and now runs a 9. So we haven't sacrificed anything that makes a GT-R awesome to get that time. We could have put drag suspension, 16s, etc., and probably done it a lot sooner and on less power, but where's the fun in that, right? So where to next is the big question. We're probably going to do a couple more features about how to build a 26 and the history of what we've been through and the steps. And we're eventually probably going to ask our viewers what they think we should build. So I might as well ask the question now. We've got a few choices. We can refresh the RB26 and continue the stock bottom end development, but personally I think that's not really worth doing because we've kind of proven how far you can go on a Nissan factory bottom end. So our other options are we reinforce a block, because we cracked it, so maybe a standard block that's semi-grout filled with a girdle, and we just put rods and pistons in it with a standard crank and a basic head and kind of do like a budget Forge 2.6, which will be great for sort of just proving what you can do without stupid money. Or do we go straight to a 2.8 stroker that revs to 10 grand? I mean, that's big bucks, but that would be pretty mental. So I think it's probably more what you guys want to see. Do you want to see a budget build 2.6? Or do you want to see a 2.8 stroker that's off its head that you need some, you know, some cash? So I might leave that to you guys, but in the meantime, driving home in a genuine 9-second street car. How's this for a fun fact? Didn't remove the toolbox or the subwoofer for the run or anything, just drove it exactly how I normally do, except for the drag radials. But hey, I'm driving home on the drag radials, so whatever, man. Thanks, guys. Your support is the reason why we keep on pushing, and we're going to keep doing it.
All right, the car drove back to our motive headquarters, so mission accomplished. Drove there, ran a 9, drove home. And now there's something else we have to do. First, baby seat for my daughter, because I have to take her to daycare. Subwoofer. Now the most important part of our day is this. Ready? There we go. Isn't that? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I nearly forgot about this sticker. I got this in Japan, I think a couple of years ago. I can't remember when I got it, but I've been holding on to this. I forgot all about it, so